The rain came down in sheets that night, cold and merciless against the empty streets of Portland. It was 11:47 p.m. when Daniel Cross pushed his cleaning cart down Morrison Street. The metal wheels squeaked against wet pavement. Each squeak echoed through the silence like a lonely heartbeat. Behind him walked two small figures, Lily and Emma, 7 years old, identical in every way except one. Lily had their mother's eyes, soft brown with flecks of gold. Emma had their mother's smile, the one that could light up a room even when the world was dark. But their mother was gone. 3 years gone. Cancer had taken her slowly. Left Daniel with 2 daughters and a mountain of debt he'd never climb. "Daddy, I'm cold," Emma whispered. Her small hand clutched the edge of his worn jacket. Daniel stopped pushing the cart. He knelt down in the rain, his knees pressed into a puddle. Cold water soaked through his jeans, but he didn't care. "Here, baby girl." He wrapped his jacket around both of them. Now he wore only a thin work shirt. Rain plastered it against his skin. "We're almost done," he said gently. "Just 2 more blocks and we go home." Home was a basement apartment on the east side. 1 room with a hot plate and a bathroom they shared with 2 other families. The ceiling leaked when it rained. Mold grew in the corners no matter how many times Daniel scrubbed it, but it was theirs. And it was all they had. Lily looked up at him with those golden brown eyes. "Daddy, why do we work at night?" The question pierced him. "Because we have no choice," he wanted to say. "Because I lost everything trying to save your mother. Because the world doesn't care about widowed janitors with 2 little girls to feed." Instead, he smiled. "Because the stars are prettier at night." He pointed up at the clouded sky where no stars shone. "And because we're a team, right?" "Right," both girls said together, their voices small but determined. Daniel stood and kept pushing the cart. His orange safety vest reflected in storefront windows. City of Portland Sanitation Department. Seal. That's what the back said. But people saw something else when they looked at him. Invisible, beneath notice. Just another person cleaning up the messes others left behind. At the corner of Morrison and 3rd, Daniel stopped to empty a trash can. The girls stood close together under a bus shelter, trying to stay dry, trying to stay warm. That's when they heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the rain. A horn, blaring, frantic, then the screech of tires on wet asphalt. The sickening crunch of metal against concrete. Daniel's head whipped around. 50 yards down the street, a black sedan had jumped the curb. It slammed into a light pole with such force the pole bent like a reed. Sparks exploded from the impact. The car's front end crumpled like paper, and then came the smoke, black and thick, pouring from under the hood. "Stay here," Daniel commanded, his voice sharp with urgency. "Do not move. Do you understand me?" "Daddy," Lily started, "promise me." He grabbed both their shoulders, his eyes locked on theirs. "We promise," Emma said. Tears already forming, Daniel ran. His work boots slapped against wet pavement. His breath came in ragged bursts. He'd been tired before, exhausted from 12-hour shifts that paid barely enough. But adrenaline burned through him now. As he got closer, he saw her, a woman slumped over the steering wheel, blood trickling down her temple. Her designer coat was torn, her blonde hair matted with rain and blood, and beneath the hood, orange flames began to lick upward, small at first, but growing. Daniel knew what came next. Everyone who'd ever seen an action movie knew. Fire plus gasoline equals explosion. He had seconds, maybe less. He grabbed the driver's door handle. "Locked, ma'am," he shouted, pounding on the window. "Ma'am, wake up!" Nothing. The flames grew brighter. Heat washed over him even through the rain. Behind him, he heard his daughter screaming, "Daddy, come back! Daddy, please!" Their voices tore at him. If he stayed, he might die. If he died, they had no one, no family, no safety net. They'd end up in the system, split apart, lost. But if he left this woman, she would burn. Daniel made his choice. He grabbed a piece of broken concrete from the sidewalk, smashed it against the driver's window. One good twice, and on the 3rd strike, the glass shattered. He reached in, unlocked the door, and yanked it open. The woman fell toward him, unconscious, limp. He caught her. She was heavier than she looked. Dead weight in his arms. The flames roared now, hungry. Daniel hooked his arms under hers and dragged her backward, away from the car. His feet slipped on the wet street. He fell, got up, kept dragging. 20 feet, 30, 40. The world moved in slow motion. He could hear his daughters crying. He could hear the fire crackling. He could hear his own heartbeat thundering in his ears. 50 feet away, Daniel finally stopped. He laid the woman down on the sidewalk, checked her pulse, faint, but there. And then the car exploded. The shockwave knocked him backward. A wall of heat and sound, glass rained down like deadly snow. Daniel threw himself over the woman, shielding her with his body. Shards cut into his back. Burns seared his arms. When the ringing in his ears finally faded, he heard them. "Daddy!" Lily and Emma ran toward him. They weren't supposed to leave the shelter. They'd promised, but promises mean nothing when you think your father just died. They crashed into him, sobbing, clutching him with small, desperate hands. "I'm okay," Daniel gasped. He wrapped his arms around them. "I'm okay, baby girls. I'm okay." But he wasn't okay. His hands were burned. His back was cut. His entire body shook with shock and adrenaline crash. Sirens wailed in the distance. Growing louder, Daniel looked down at the woman he'd saved. She was still unconscious, but alive. He didn't know her name, didn't know who she was, didn't know that in 72 hours she would whisper 7 words that would shatter everything. He thought he knew about his life. The ambulance arrived 4 minutes later. Paramedics rushed toward the burning wreckage. One saw Daniel on the ground with the woman. "Sir, are you hurt?" Young guy, maybe 25. Concerned eyes behind wire-framed glasses. "I'm fine," Daniel lied. "Help her, please." They loaded the woman onto a stretcher. Oxygen mask, IV line, efficient and fast. A police officer approached Daniel. Older man with grey at his temples. Badge read, "Officer Martinez, you pulled her out?" "Yes, sir." "That was incredibly brave," Martinez said. "Also incredibly stupid. That car could have exploded while you were right next to it." "It did," Daniel said quietly. Martinez's eyebrows rose. He looked at Daniel's burned hands, the cuts on his face from flying glass, the way he held his daughters close. "We need to get you to the hospital too." "I can't afford it," Daniel said simply. The truth of those 4 words hung in the rain. Martinez studied him, the orange safety vest, the cleaning cart abandoned on the corner, 2 little girls in clothes that had been washed 100 times too many. He'd seen this before. Good people, broke people, people who'd slip through the cracks if you let them. "Listen," Martinez said quietly, "the woman you saved, she's going to Emmanuel Medical Center. When she wakes up, she's going to want to thank you. Maybe there's a reward. Rich people love feeling grateful." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I didn't do it for money, I know," Martinez said gently, "but you did it. And you're hurt?" "No." Daniel stood up. Pain shot through his back. He ignored it. "Thank you, officer. But we need to go home now." He took his daughter's hands, started walking back toward his cart. "Wait," Martinez called after him. "At least give me your name." "For the report." Daniel stopped, looked back. Daniel Cross. "Address?" He gave the basement apartment address, the one he was ashamed of, the one he hoped his daughters would escape from someday. Martinez wrote it down, looked at Daniel for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "You're a good man, Mr. Cross." Daniel didn't respond. He just walked away. By the time they got home, it was past 1 a.m. Daniel's hands were blistered and raw. His shirt was stuck to the cuts on his back. The girls were exhausted, traumatized, silent in a way that scared him more than crying. He heated water on the hot plate, made instant ramen, the only food they had left until his paycheck came Friday. They ate in silence. Afterward, Daniel tucked them into the single mattress they all shared. He lay between them, one girl on each side, the way they'd slept since their mother died. "Daddy," Lily whispered in the dark. "Were you scared?" "Yes," he admitted, "but you saved her anyway." "Yes. Why?" Daniel was quiet for a long time. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that some things matter more than fear? That some choices define who you are? "Because," he finally said, "your mama always told me that we're not measured by what we have. We're measured by what we do when it matters." "I miss Mama," Emma whispered. "Me too." "Baby girl," Daniel's voice cracked. Me too. They fell asleep like that, tangled together in a basement that smelled of mold and rain. Daniel lay awake, staring at the water-stained ceiling, wondering if anyone would even remember what happened tonight, wondering if that woman would live, wondering if any of it mattered. He didn't know that across the city, in a hospital room filled with machines and monitors, that woman was dreaming of a face she hadn't seen in 20 years, her sister's face, and when she woke up in 3 days, she would look at Daniel Cross and see a ghost. Daniel went to work the next morning. He had no choice. Miss a shift, lose the job. Lose the job, lose everything. His supervisor, Marcus Webb, took one look at his bandaged hands and shook his head. Jesus, Cross, what happened to you? Accident, Daniel said quietly. Can you work? Pain radiated up his arms with every movement. Yes, sir. Marcus studied him. 50-something, former military. Hard but not cruel. You sure? Yes, sir. All right. But if those hands get infected, you're going on unpaid leave. Can't have you contaminating the equipment. Daniel nodded, picked up his cart, started his route. The city woke up around him. Business people in suits rushed past. Cars honked. Life moved at the speed of ambition and coffee. No one looked at the man in the orange vest. No one saw his burned hands. No one knew that 12 hours ago he'd run into fire. That's how it had always been. Daniel Cross was 42 years old. Once he'd been someone different, someone with a future. He'd graduated top of his class from Portland State. Degree in engineering. Job offers from 3 companies. A beautiful wife named Sarah. Life had been a straight path forward. Until Sarah got sick, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Diagnosis to death in 11 months. Daniel had spent every penny fighting it. Experimental treatments. Second opinions. Third opinions. Anything that might give them more time. He'd burned through their savings. Maxed out credit cards. Taken loans from anyone who'd give them. And she died anyway, after the funeral. He'd looked at his daughters, looked at the bills, looked at the engineering job that had fired him for taking too much time off, and he'd understood. The world doesn't pause for grief, so he'd found work that would take him. Sanitation, night shifts, so he could be with the girls during the day. Barely enough to cover rent and food. Nothing left over for anything else. 3 years of this. 3 years of being invisible. Daniel stopped at a red light. Across the street, a billboard advertised luxury condos. Live the life you deserve. He almost laughed. What did he deserve? His phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something made him, hello? Mr. Cross? Or your woman's voice, professional. This is Emmanuel Medical Center. We're calling about the woman you rescued last night. Daniel's heart skipped. Is she okay? Oh, she's stable. She woke up this morning and has been asking for you. Would you be able to come to the hospital? I'm working until 6. She said it's urgent. Very urgent. Something in the nurse's voice made Daniel pause. Can you tell me what this is about? A long hesitation. She said she knows who you are. The world tilted. What? She said she knows your wife. Ice flooded Daniel's veins. That's impossible. My wife died 3 years ago. Another pause. Longer this time to Mr. Cross. I think you really need to come in. Daniel called his neighbor Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman who sometimes watched the girls. Paid her the last $20 in his wallet. He took the bus to Emmanuel Medical Center. His hands shook the entire ride. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. Daniel approached the front desk, gave his name. The receptionist made a call. 2 minutes later, a doctor appeared. Young woman. Dark hair pulled back, tired eyes. Mr. Cross. I'm Dr. Patel. Thank you for coming. The nurse said the woman. I saved knows my wife. Dr. Patel nodded slowly. Room 407. 4th floor. She's been waiting. Daniel's legs felt like lead as he walked to the elevator, rode up alone, stepped out into a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. Room 407. He stood outside the door, heart pounding, hand on the handle. This was insane. Sarah was dead. He'd buried her. He'd held her hand as she took her last breath. Whatever this woman thought she knew, she was wrong. Daniel pushed the door open. The woman lay in bed, IV in her arm, bandage on her head, but awake now, alert. And when she saw him, her eyes filled with tears. Oh my God, she whispered. You look just like her. Daniel froze. "Excuse me?" The woman sat up slowly, winced at the pain, but her eyes never left his face. "Sarah," she said. "Sarah Cross. She was my sister." The floor dropped out from under Daniel. "What?" "My name is Catherine Reynolds," the woman said, her voice shaking. "I'm Sarah's younger sister, and I've been looking for you for 3 years. Daniel couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Catherine Reynolds stared at him with eyes that were disturbingly familiar, the same shape as Sarah's, the same way of looking at him like she could see straight through. Sarah never mentioned a sister. Daniel finally managed. "I know," Catherine said quietly. "We were estranged. For 20 years. She gestured to the chair beside her bed. "Please, sit." "This is going to take a while." Daniel sat, not because he trusted her, but because his legs wouldn't hold him anymore. Catherine took a shaky breath. "Sarah and I grew up in Seattle. Our parents were wealthy. Real estate developers, cold people. They cared more about image than anything else." Her hands twisted the hospital blanket. "When Sarah was 22, she fell in love with you. An engineering student. Smart, kind, but not from their world. They forbade her to see you." Daniel's chest tightened. He remembered. Sarah had always been vague about her family. Said they were complicated. He'd never pushed. "Sarah chose you," Catherine continued. "She cut them off completely. Moved to Portland. Married you. Built a life. And you?" Daniel asked. His voice hard. "I stayed," Catherine admitted. Shame colored her words. "I was younger. Scared. I let them poison me against her. They said she'd thrown away her future. That she'd end up miserable. So you never contacted her?" "No." Catherine's voice broke. "I didn't. For 20 years. I believed what they told me, and then..." She closed her eyes. "Then they died. Car accident, 5 years ago. And I found something in their estate papers." She reached for a folder on the bedside table, winced at the movement, handed it to Daniel. "And what is this?" he asked. "Open it." Daniel opened the folder. Inside was a will, dated 6 months before Sarah's death. His eyes scanned the pages. Legal language, numbers. And then he saw it. Sarah Cross's name, listed as beneficiary, $2.4 million. Daniel's hand started shaking. "What is this?" "Our parents' estate," Catherine said. "They left everything to Sarah and me. Equal shares, but Sarah never knew. They'd written her out of their lives, but not their will. Why didn't you tell her?" Because by the time I found out, she was already gone." Catherine's tears fell freely now. "I spent 2 years trying to find you. I hired investigators, but you'd moved, changed apartments, no forwarding address. You'd vanished." Daniel thought of the eviction, the shelters, the desperate months before he found the basement apartment. "I kept looking," Catherine said. "And then last night you saved my life. The police told me your name. And I knew. I finally found you." Daniel stared at the will. $2.4 million, money that would have saved Sarah. Money that would have paid for the treatments. Money that would have given them time. His vision blurred. Rage and grief crashed through him like a tidal wave. "She died," he said, his voice raw. "She died because we had no money, because I couldn't afford the treatments, because we were alone." "I know," Catherine whispered. "I know, and I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" Daniel stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. "Sorry doesn't bring her back. Sorry doesn't give my daughters their mother." "Daniel, you had 20 years, he said, each word like a stone. 20 years to fix it, to reach out, to be a sister." "I know," Catherine said again. "I know I failed her. I failed you. I failed those little girls. So why tell me now?" Daniel's hands clenched into fists. "Why show me this? To make yourself feel better?" "No," Catherine met his eyes. "To make it right." She pulled out another document, placed it on the bed. "Sarah's half of the inheritance. Bought out $2 million, it's yours. It was always supposed to be yours. I've been trying to find you to give it to you." Daniel looked at the paper, then back at Catherine. "I don't want your guilt money." "It's not guilt money," Catherine said firmly. "It's Sarah's money. It's your daughter's inheritance. It's the life Sarah wanted to give them. We've survived this long without it. Survived. Catherine's voice sharpened. "You're surviving! In a basement, working yourself to death. Your daughters are growing up watching their father disappear piece by piece." The words hit like physical blows. "I saw them last night," Catherine continued, "when the paramedics were loading me into the ambulance. 2 little girls in clothes that were too small, crying for their father, looking at him like he's the only thing holding their world. Together," she leaned forward, "you are, and you're breaking under the weight. So please, take what Sarah wanted you to have. Give those girls the life their mother dreamed of." Daniel's throat closed up. 3 years of holding it together. 3 years of being strong. 3 years of telling himself he was enough. And now this stranger was telling him he wasn't. "I need to go," he managed. He walked toward the door. "Daniel," Catherine called after him, her voice soft but clear. "Sarah wrote you a letter before she died. I found it in her belongings." Daniel's hand froze on the doorknob. "What? She never mailed it?" Catherine said, "I think she was too weak at the end. But she wrote it, and I have it." Daniel turned slowly. Catherine pulled an envelope from the folder, yellow with age. Sarah's handwriting on the front, "To my Daniel, to be opened if the world ever makes sense again." His hands trembled as he took it. "Read it when you're ready," Catherine said gently. "And then come back. We have a lot to talk about." Daniel didn't go back to work. He sat on a bench outside the hospital, the letter in his hands. For an hour he just held it, afraid to open it, afraid of what Sarah might say. Finally, as the sun began to set, he carefully opened the envelope. The paper inside was covered in Sarah's handwriting, shaky, weak, written in the final days. "My dearest Daniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I got sick. Sorry I left you alone with 2 beautiful daughters who needed their mother. Sorry I made you watch me die. But most of all, I'm sorry I never told you about Catherine. I cut my family out because they were cruel, because they tried to control me, because they didn't believe in us. I wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted to build a life so full of love that their money and status meant nothing, and we did, didn't we? For a while we were so happy. But now I'm dying, and I realize I was wrong. Not about choosing you, never about that. Wrong about Catherine. She was just a kid when I left, 16 years old, and I abandoned her to them. I told myself she made her choice, but she didn't. She was trapped. If you ever find her, please forgive her for me. Tell her I should have fought harder. Tell her I loved her. And Daniel, my love, please don't let my pride destroy you. If my parents left money, take it, not for you, for Lily and Emma. Let them have the chances I didn't get to give them. Let them have music lessons and summer camps and college funds. Let them have a father who isn't working himself into an early grave. I know you'll want to refuse. I know you'll think accepting help is weakness. It's not. Accepting help so our daughters can thrive is the strongest thing you can do. Be strong enough to let go, Daniel. Be strong enough to let people in. Be strong enough to build the life we dreamed of. Even without me in it, I love you. I loved you from the moment I met you. I loved you when I said yes. I loved you through every struggle. I loved you in the hospital. I love you now. And I'll love you from wherever I am next. Take care of our girls. Tell them Mama's story, and please, please, be happy again. All my love. Forever, Sarah. Daniel's tears fell onto the paper, smudging the ink. He didn't care. He read it again, and again, and again, until the words burned into his memory. Be strong enough to let go. He'd been holding on so tight to grief, to pride, to the idea that accepting help meant admitting defeat. But Sarah was right. She was always right. It wasn't about him anymore. It had never been about him. It was about Lily and Emma, about giving them the mother they lost in every way he could. Daniel stood up, wiped his face, walked back into the hospital. Catherine was awake when he entered. She looked up, saw his face, understood. "You read it," she said quietly. "Yes. And?" Daniel sat down, met her eyes. "Tell me about her," he said. "Tell me about Sarah before I knew her. Tell me about my wife's sister. Tell me about the family she lost." Catherine smiled through tears. "I'd like that." They talked for hours, about Seattle, about 2 sisters who loved each other despite everything. about parents who confuse control with love, about 20 years of silence that should never have happened. She talked about you once, Catherine said, at our mother's funeral. I saw her from across the cemetery. She looked at me, and I looked away. Her voice broke. I'll regret that for the rest of my life. She forgave you, Daniel said, in the letter. She forgave you. Did she forgive herself? Daniel thought about that. I don't know, but I forgive her. And I forgive you. Catherine's shoulders shook with sobs. Thank you. Thank you. When she calmed down, she pulled out the inheritance papers again. There's something else, she said. The money is yours, no conditions. But I want to propose something. What? Do I want to be part of their lives? Catherine said. Lily and Emma, my nieces. I want to know them. If you'll let me. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. They need family, he finally said. They need more than just me. Then it's settled. Catherine smiled. We'll figure this out. Together. 3 days later, Daniel stood outside his basement apartment. Catherine beside him, released from the hospital, still healing but insisting on coming. This is it, Daniel said. Ashamed of the peeling paint, the broken railing, the smell of garbage from the alley. This is where my nieces live, Catherine said gently. That makes it important. Daniel opened the door. Lily and Emma looked up from the mattress. They'd been playing with dolls made from socks and buttons. When they saw Catherine, they froze. Girls, Daniel said softly. There's someone I want you to meet. Catherine knelt down, slowly, carefully, like approaching scared animals. Hi, she said. My name is Catherine. I'm your mama's sister. Your aunt. Lily's eyes went wide. Mama had a sister. Audrey did, and I'm so sorry I wasn't there before. But I'm here now, if you'll have me. Emma looked at her father. Is it true, Daddy? Daniel nodded. It's true, baby girl. Emma studied Catherine, then walked forward, looked up at her. Do you have pictures of Mama? Catherine's eyes filled with tears. I do, so many pictures. From when she was your age. Can we see them? Yes, anytime you want, Lily joined her sister. Daddy says Mama's in heaven. She is, Catherine agreed. But she's also in you. Both of you. I see her in your eyes. In your smile, she looked at Daniel, and in your father's strength. That afternoon, they sat together in that small basement. Catherine showed them photos on her phone. Nadu dis. Sarah as a child, Sarah as a teenager, Sarah on her wedding day. The girls stared at the images, hungry for any piece of their mother. She was beautiful, Lily whispered. She was, Catherine agreed. Inside and out, just like you. Later, after the girls fell asleep, Catherine and Daniel sat at the small table. I've been thinking, Catherine said, about what comes next. The money, Daniel said, it's yours, already transferred to an account in your name. You can do whatever you want with it. Daniel looked around the basement, at the mold, the cracks, the life he'd been living. I want to move, he said, somewhere safe, somewhere with a yard, somewhere the girls can be kids. Good, Catherine said. And I want to go back to school. Finish my engineering degree. Get a job where I'm not invisible. Even better. And I want to set up a trust for the girls. For college. For their future. Catherine smiled. Sarah would be so proud of you. There's one more thing, Daniel said. What? I want to start a foundation in Sarah's name for families dealing with cancer to help pay for treatments so no one else has to choose between medicine and food. Catherine reached across the table, took his hand, then let's do it, together. The morning sun poured through the windows of the house on Alameda Street, 3 bedrooms, a backyard with a swing set, a kitchen that didn't smell like mold. Daniel stood at the stove making pancakes, real pancakes with blueberries. Lily and Emma sat at the table, school uniforms pressed, hair braided, laughing about something that happened yesterday. Catherine walked in through the back door. She'd bought a house 2 blocks away, close enough to visit every day, far enough to give them space. Aunt Kate. Emma jumped up, hugged her. Good morning, sunshine. Catherine kissed the top of her head. Ready for your piano recital tonight? I'm nervous, Emma admitted. That's okay. Nervousness means you care. Your mama was nervous before everything important. Really? Really? Catherine pulled out her phone. showed them a photo of Sarah before a college presentation, biting her nails, and see, she was always brave but never fearless. There's a difference. Daniel plated the pancakes. They sat down together, a family, different than what he'd imagined, but complete after breakfast. Daniel drove the girls to school, not in the old car that barely ran, in the reliable sedan, safe, warm. Daddy, Lily said from the back seat, do you think Mama knows? About Aunt Kate? About our new house? Daniel looked at her in the rearview mirror. I think Mama knows everything, baby girl. And I think she's smiling. That evening, the recital hall was packed. Daniel sat in the front row, Catherine beside him. Emma walked onto stage, small and nervous. Sat at the piano, her fingers trembled as they placed themselves on the keys. The first note rang out clear, pure, then the second. And the third, the melody built slowly. A piece Catherine had helped her choose, Claire de Lune. And Sarah's favorite. Daniel's throat tightened. He remembered Sarah humming this in the kitchen, while cooking dinner, while folding laundry, while holding their newborn daughters. Emma played through her nervousness, through the fear, through the pressure, and somewhere in the middle, something shifted. She stopped performing, started feeling. The music swelled, filled the hall, reached into every heart. When the final note faded, silence held for a beat. Then the entire audience stood. Emma looked up, surprised, saw her father and aunt on their feet, tears streaming down both their faces. She smiled. That smile, her mother's smile, after the recital. They went for ice cream, a tradition Catherine had started. Small celebrations for small victories. You were amazing. Lily told her sister, pride glowing in her face. I messed up in the middle. Emma said, no one noticed. Catherine said gently, because you kept going, that's what matters. Not perfection, perseverance. They sat in the ice cream shop, talking, laughing, normal. Daniel watched them and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace, not the absence of pain, but the presence of hope. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, his old supervisor. Saw you on the news. That foundation you started. Proud of you, Cross. Always knew you were more than just a janitor. Daniel stared at the text. The Sarah Cross Memorial Foundation had launched 3 months ago. They'd already helped 15 families, paid for treatments, covered bills, given hope. The local news had done a story about the street sweeper who saved a woman, found his sister-in-law, reclaimed his life. Daniel never thought of himself as a hero. He was just a father, trying his best. But maybe that was enough. That night, after the girls were asleep, Daniel sat in the backyard. The swing set creaked gently in the breeze. Stars filled the sky. Catherine joined him, 2 cups of coffee in her hands. Thank you, Daniel said quietly. For what? For finding me. For not giving up. Catherine sat beside him. I should be thanking you. You gave me a second chance. With Sarah's daughters, with family. They sat in comfortable silence. Do you think about that night? Catherine asked. The accident? Every day, Daniel admitted. If you hadn't been there... But I was, Daniel interrupted gently. That's what matters. Not the what-ifs, just what is. Catherine nodded slowly. Sarah used to say that. When I'd worry about the future, she'd say, Kate, live in the is. Not the if, Daniel smiled. She was wise. She chose well, Catherine said. Looking at him, she chose a man who'd run into fire for a stranger, who'd sacrifice everything for his daughters, who'd forgive when he had every right to hate. I don't hate you, Daniel said. I know. That's what makes you extraordinary. 5 years later, Daniel stood at the entrance of the Sarah Cross Memorial Center, a full medical facility, funded by the foundation, dedicated to helping families fighting cancer. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was today. Press everywhere, cameras, donors, politicians. But Daniel only saw 3 people in the crowd. Lily and Emma, 12 years old now, tall and confident, their mother's strength in every gesture. And Catherine, white hair touched her temples now, lines around her eyes, but younger somehow than the woman he'd met in that hospital room. The mayor handed him the scissors. Mr. Cross, would you like to say a few words before we cut the ribbon? Daniel approached the microphone, looked out at the crowd. 6 years ago, he began, his voice steady. I was a street sweeper, working nights, raising 2 daughters alone, invisible to most of the world. The crowd was silent, and then one rainy night, I saw a car crash, a woman trapped, fire spreading. He paused. I had a choice, run toward danger or walk away. Keep my daughters safe by staying alive, or risk everything for a stranger. His eyes found Catherine. I chose to run toward the fire, and that choice changed everything. The woman I saved turned out to be my wife's sister. A sister I never knew existed. She brought with her a gift, not just money, but family, connection, a second chance. Daniel's voice grew stronger. This center exists because of that moment. Because someone chose to be brave. Because someone chose to forgive. Because 2 people chose to honor a woman they both loved by helping others. He looked at his daughters. Sarah Cross taught me that strength isn't about how much you can carry. It's about knowing when to ask for help, knowing when to let people in. She also taught me that the most powerful thing we can do is show up for strangers, for family, for each other. He stepped back from the microphone, picked up the scissors. Catherine joined him on one side, Lily and Emma on the other. This center is dedicated to my wife, Daniel said, to my daughters, to my sister-in-law, and to every family fighting a battle they didn't choose. Together they cut the ribbon. The crowd erupted in applause, but Daniel barely heard it. He was remembering that hospital room 6 years ago when Catherine had leaned forward, weak but determined, and whispered 7 words that broke him. Your wife left. Everything for your daughters, not money, not property, everything. Love, forgiveness, hope, a sister, a future, a family, everything. Daniel, Catherine, and the girls walk into the medical center. Through glass doors that reflect the sunset. Inside, families wait, scared, desperate, holding on to hope. Just like Daniel once did, a young father sits with twin boys, maybe 6 years old. His face carries the same exhaustion Daniel remembers. Daniel approaches, kneels down, looks the man in the eyes. I know it's hard, Daniel says softly. I know you feel alone, but you're not. We're here, and we're going to help you fight. The man's eyes fill with tears. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Daniel smiles. Thank the woman who taught me that running toward fire is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. He stands, looks back at the portrait on the wall. Sarah Cross, 1982-2019. Beautiful, smiling, eternal. Beside her portrait, a plaque with her final letter. The last paragraph, be strong enough to let go. Daniel, be strong enough to let people in. Be strong enough to build the life we dreamed of, even without me in it. Daniel reads it for the 1,000th time, and for the 1,000th time it breaks him and heals him, because that's what love does. It breaks you open so the light can get in.